Let's look at our second video on the cosine law, and this time we're going to figure out how to find angles, and that's a little bit trickier, but a lot of the steps are the same, and thank goodness here our cosine formulas are still the same. So let's see how this works in an example. So here we're mixing it up a bit. We have a triangle XYZ instead of an A, B, and C. So hopefully you won't get tricked up by that. We're going to use the same methods. Let's just look at the question first. So it says in triangle XYZ, we have side X, they give us side Y, side Z, and it says find angle Y. So now I know that my formula has to start with a Y squared, and I'm going to write the other two sides. So let's kind of predict what it's going to look like. If I start with Y squared, the other two sides must be X squared and Z squared minus 2 of what I just wrote, X and Z, times cos of what I started with, which was the Y. So we're kind of predicting ahead what our formula is going to look like in a triangle with X, Y, and Z. Let's start with a drawing. Okay, so here we have any random triangle. It does not have a right angle. That's important. And let's call it X, Y, and Z. And let's start labeling some of our sides. So we know that X is 17. That's going to go here. And let's put that there. And we know that Y is 25. So finding side Y is over here. And let's put side Z is 22. That's going to be over here. Okay, now we've got our triangle all labeled. And here's something else that's special about when we use cosine law. We can always use it when we have three sides that are given. So notice that here I've got all three sides have numbers. I don't have to find any sides in this question. However, I do not know any of the angles. So this is a bit tricky. Do not know any angle whatsoever. We can still use cosine law. It works. Okay, so here we write the formula. And as I was saying at the beginning, we're going to start with y squared because they're asking us to find angle y. So let's imagine it again just before we write it down, because this is the hardest part, that you would have to predict how to write the formula properly. So let's see if you've got it. So we would have to write y squared equals x squared, the other two sides, plus z squared minus what we just wrote, x and z, 2 times x times z, times cos of y, which is what we started with. Let's see if we got it right. Okay. Oh shoot, this is supposed to be a z. Oh, there's a little mistake here. So this should say z, and this should say z. I'll have to correct that next time. Okay, let's plug the numbers in anyway. So here is our side y squared is equal to x squared plus z squared minus 2 times x times z times cos of y, what we started with. Now notice that this time the missing number is at the end rather than at the beginning here. So we have to solve for this. This is what we have to find, our y, our angle y. We're going to have to do a bit of rearranging. Now here's the tricky part. I want to show you a shortcut in a minute, but let me just explain it the long way first. So in my next line that comes up, looks like this. Now let me explain where this came from. So up here I had 25 squared. Now this 17 went over to the other side and became a minus, and so did the 22 went over to this side and became a minus. So that's how I got 25 squared minus 17 squared minus 22 squared. Then this whole chunk here did a swing underneath and went underneath to the bottom here. Okay, that part or that step is a little bit tricky, and this is where people tend to mess up. If you don't like doing it that way, here's another way of memorizing the formula right from the beginning and then plugging the numbers in. So let's say they asked us to find side y. So I would start with cos y, because this is the angle, and then I would write y squared, what I just started with, minus the square of the other two sides, then divided by negative 2 times the last two things I wrote, x and times z. Okay, so You can memorize it this way. Some people like to have that. So if whatever angle you're asked to find, you start with that y squared minus the square of the other two sides divided by -2 times the last two things that you wrote. Okay, that's another little trick if you like it that way. It just depends. Okay, here's another top tip. When you're calculating this, whatever way you did it, if you like to do it this way, that's fine. If you want to memorize it this way, that's fine. But both roads lead down to this, the calculation part. So be careful here. I want to see if you can get the next 4-digit decimal that's going to come up. So this is the way you do it in your calculator. Remember to hit the equal sign on top, and you must put all of the bottom in brackets. That's why I have all this in brackets. So when you do 25 squared minus 17 squared minus 22 squared equals, then divide by bracket -2 17 times 22 close bracket, and you may have to hit equal again. Let's see if you can get this 4-digit decimal. To get decimal 1978, and this is one is a bit longer. And also over here, make sure you hit a negative sign, not a minus sign, because then you'll get an error message. So once you've got this 4-digit decimal, we're almost done. Remember to find angles. We always use the inverse button. So do a quick cos inverse, and let's see if you can get 79 degrees. If you can, you're all done, and you know how to use cos to find angles.